So I'm pretty sure you see by now Jerry Jeudy spoke to the media today, and it was three things that he thought about, that he talked about, I'm sorry, that kind of stood out to me. One was the impact that he felt like that Amari Cooper will have on his life and on his career. Two, about, wanting to have a long-term home to play at and just kind of letting this season play out. And then at the very end of the press conference, he was asked about the comments that was made by Steve Smith, which of course he never really responded to last year. But Quincy, I'm going to take this quote real quick and I'm going to read it. This is what he had to say to that question. I always say that eye in the sky don't lie. Put on the tape, put on the film. Some games I didn't have my best game, but I'm going to control what I can control. If you turn on the tape, turn on the film, you really can see what I'm capable of doing, even though the stats not really showing what it's saying. And that was Jerry Jeudy when he spoke to the media earlier today. I think the Browns got a steal in Jerry Jeudy. I think the Browns got a dude that got a lot of potential, a lot of upside. And I get it. The numbers didn't match the draft status or whatever the case may be. But sometimes, man, when you get a fresh start in a new environment, I think that, that rose that grows from concrete becomes a real thing and not cliche.
Yeah, and sometimes numbers can be affected by quarterback play. We know Russ has had his adventures trying to find the middle of the field, especially over the last couple of years. That couldn't have been something helpful for Jerry Jeudy, who's a slot specialist, right? Like that had to affect him. And even then, the numbers he put up were very admirable. I think people expect the production that, that you would get out of like a Mike Evans or something because he was drafted in the top half of the first round. But he's put up admirable numbers. I think there's room to get more out of him. Hell, Amari Cooper was at a similar place. He was a little bit more than Jerry Jeudy, but Amari Cooper was like consistently low 1000s, right? Before he got to Cleveland. He gets to Cleveland, works with Kevin Stefanski, and despite having relative instability at quarterback, right, with Deshaun Watson being injured or suspended most of the time Amari Cooper's been here, Amari Cooper put up a career year in touchdowns the year before and a career year in receiving yards this year. And this is the best Amari Cooper that anybody's ever gotten, which is in Cleveland. Which is new for us, right? To trade for somebody with a big name and get the most out of them. Right?
Absolutely right.
Yeah, but that's what's happened with Coop. And, I think something similar can happen with Jeudy, especially if Deshaun stays healthy, because where Deshaun thrives is down the field in that slot seam area, right? Like David Njoku, his tight ends always thrive there. D-Hop is somebody who can get in the slot, put some damage down. That's always been where Deshaun Watson can do some work with. And Jerry Jeudy is the type of wide receiver that I think he could really do a lot with because he's super accurate when he's on. And, we've seen it even when in Cleveland, right? Deshaun will have balls that he throws where it looks like it got teleported into the hands of the wide receiver and they can just seamlessly run after the catch. And you put the ball in Jerry Jeudy's hands like that or David Njoku's hands like that, you can see where the success can be had on this offense. And a lot of the pressure's taken off of Jerry Jeudy, right? He was like a number 2 option in Denver next to Cortland Sutton. Now, teams are going to be worried about Amari Cooper first, David Njoku second. They're going to check what's going on with Chubb, and then they're going to look for you and Elijah Moore, right? So there's going to be some matchups that you're going to get. Teams aren't going to be so focused on you and trying to make sure they put you in the exact type press situation that you don't like, right? They're not going to be focused on making you uncomfortable. They're focused on making those guys uncomfortable, which means you got a lot of room to get comfortable and get some production there. So I think this would be a good move. You didn't really risk much. You traded what you got for Baker Mayfield and what you got for trading for Deshaun Watson. So you could just basically pair that up with the Deshaun Watson trade. And if these two have a great year, then all of a sudden that trade goes from worst quarterback trade of all time to an absolute bargain if you get a good wide receiver and a franchise quarterback for 3 first-round picks.
Yeah, I seen that tweet when you put it out there. And I love how you kind of triggered the thought process of people. Because you even dropped the tweet under the tweet, for those who need the context, this is what it is. And I think it does set up to say, okay, when this thing comes full circle, this will ultimately determine, if this trade was a success or not. I think one of the things that I really like about it is this is a dude who ran a 4.4 at the combine. He's not a little dude. He's 6'1". Not only does he have speed, but he actually is a route running assassin, right? And I think that in most cases, you get dudes who have one or the other. You either get dudes who's really, really fast or dudes who's really, really good at running routes. And Jerry Jeudy, quite honestly, is one of the few who has the speed to take the top off the defense and can like shake you up with the routes. When you talk about 40 plus yard receptions since 2022, he has 10, Amari has 12. And you talk about this offense being more of an air raid type offense, more of a vertical type passing game. You know, it'd be really, really interesting to see a motivated Jerry Jeudy kind of step up and show out. You know, he's entering a contract year. Elijah Moore's entering a contract year. Amari will be entering a contract year. So this is huge for Deshaun, and this is huge years for all three of those wide receivers who's looking to get paid.
Yeah, because if Elijah Moore and Jerry Jeudy have good years, then you can see how they can just cycle this in, right? Okay, we'll put Cedric Tillman here. We'll move Jerry Jeudy over to where Amari Cooper is. We can keep Elijah Moore at that like number 2, second wide situation. So yeah, there's a lot of room for guys to get paid. It's gonna be weird to see because like if Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy both ball out, they're gonna go with the younger guy, right? Like so is hopefully Amari gets his money somewhere else. But yeah, there's a lot of money to be had in that room. And if you're Deshaun, you got to take advantage of it this year. You got to stay healthy. Got to do what you can to make sure they can eat, win from that pocket so you can get as far as you can. Because, I mean, the weapons that you have on this offense, it would be less ridiculous if we didn't have this defense too, right? Like, I think that's another thing. Like, since we have this defense, we tend to think of the offense as kind of an afterthought. But think about how little it took offensively for this team to win games last year, right? Like PJ Walker went 2-1 with this team, and it wasn't like he was
that's Tyvis' favorite player, right?
Huh?
You know that's Tyvis Powell's favorite player.
Oh yeah. Grinder. But you know, it's something. There is something about that, right? Where you're able to win games. Like, you know, I know people make it about Joe Flacco, but the Browns won games with 4 different quarterbacks last year. That's how good this defense is. If the offense can just meet it somewhere in the middle, if they could just be like a top 10, 12 offense, and you got something there. I mean, that's pretty Kansas City Chiefs like, right? Where the Kansas City Chiefs had the best defense in the playoffs. And then offensively, they didn't really put together any crazy games, but they were good enough to be in the top half of all those teams playing. And that's it. That's all they needed, right? To get past everybody, because you need that balance to win a Super Bowl, right? And the Browns are addressing special teams this year. They're bringing back D-Hop. They have the punters and everything else. Defense, we know that's going to be solid. Now we just need to get this passing game where it needs to. Also, you got Nick Chubb sitting in the lair. And look, if Nick Chubb's 80% back, that's better than like 90% of the NFL.